Welcome to How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette
and Sister Sophia.
Our show is designed to help you learn more about emotional, mental, and spiritual health.
Let's talk.
Welcome to How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia. This is Dr. Suzette Stokes-Sims. I'm a licensed psychologist and owner and director of Dayspring Counseling Services, and my co-host is Sister Sophia Avery.
Hello, I'm Sister Sophia Avery, a Christian therapist and owner of Christian Talk Therapy located in Bala Cynwyd, Pennsylvania.
And our show is designed to provide you with wise counsel for your emotional, mental, and spiritual health concerns. And if this is the first time that you're joining our show, how's that working for you? One of the things that we want you to know is that we are actually practicing professionals. I'm a licensed psychologist, and I work with and treat individuals who struggle with depression, anxiety, all kinds of different mood issues, behavior issues in children, marriages, you name it. I try my best to help, and I feel very confident in my ability to be used as a tool on God's behalf to help individuals who struggle with a lot of different issues. And Sister Sophia Avery has her practice Christian Talk Therapy, and she as well is a practicing professional. So we are not just radio personalities, quote unquote, but we are actual professionals, and we are here to try to help you. And so today's show is talking about abandonment. And we are going to be talking specifically about parental abandonment. If in your childhood you struggled with feeling abandoned or rejected by a parent, and how that can manifest itself into adulthood. And last week we were talking about emotional wounds. And one of the things that we talked about was a lot of different issues that can contribute to having emotional wounds. And so we are starting a series on talking about the issues that contribute to emotional wounds. And today it is about parental abandonment and how that can affect you.
Absolutely. And, we need to be aware of where our pain is coming from. A lot of times what we went through in childhood, we think, childhood is over, so just forget about it. But I'm telling you, one thing that happens is you might forget about it consciously, but your subconscious never forgets about it. You can believe that. It's subconsciously, it'll affect you. It'll affect your behavior. It'll affect your relationships and your ability to relate to other people. It can affect your functioning. So you might try to forget about it. And to tell you the truth, Suzette, a lot of my clients have blocked parts of their childhood, like they can't remember what happened. Mm-hmm. And I usually try to measure them by whether or not I can remember something.
Okay.
So my memory goes back to about 6, although I can remember stuff that happened in kindergarten, like when I got a spanking for poking a girl in the eye. I was 4. Hey, I was 4. I didn't know. I thought her eye was interesting. I poked her. I didn't know,
Right.
But if my clients are not my age, like I have had clients who were 25 and they couldn't remember anything that happened before the age of 12, like, okay, something's wrong. You're blocking something. Mm-hmm. So that's where we dig into kind of emotional wounds.
Yeah. And I just want to preface today's show with, as we're talking, those of you who are out there listening, we might bring up some stuff that is really difficult for you to deal with. And if you need to, because you're not yet connected in counseling with someone or you don't have a particular support system, I would say by all means, keep that block up if you need to. Take in what you can, but at the same time, pay attention to the fact that you need to develop a relationship with a counselor, because you don't want to feel too overwhelmed where you don't know what to do with the information that might come up. So when I tell you to block it, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying don't deal. What I'm saying is, right now in your life, you have developed a certain set of coping skills in order to deal with that thing that was very painful. In order to deal with that wound, there's something that you're doing that has been effective for you for whatever reason. And it's not always a good thing to remove that coping skill until you have something else in its place. So I'm not saying don't deal with it. What I'm saying is, for today, put it on hold, but make a decision to call for counseling, seek support to help you work it out. As I mentioned, I'm with Dayspring Counseling Services. Dayspring has offices in Bala Kenwood, Exton, and Paoli, and we have therapists that are very skilled at being able to help you if you do feel stuck or if things do come up. Our website is dayspringpa.com. Again, that's dayspringpa.com, and the telephone number is 610-363-2040. Again, 610-363-2040, or you can reach Sophia within her practice as well.
Right, at christiantalktherapy.com. If you'd like to schedule an appointment, there's a link on my website. You can click it and we can set you up.
Great. And also, can you maybe give the telephone number too, in case people don't have computers?
215-375-7879. That's 215-375-7879.
And so if something comes up for you, please call for counseling. Our number here is 610-277-9449. If you are struggling with something, if you recognize in your life that you have some issues with abandonment or feeling abandoned or rejected by a parent, and it's manifesting itself in your life in some way, call us here. You don't have to use your name, but allow us to help you. We would love to be able to help you, and you could also be a blessing to others who are listening. 610-277-9449. Again, 610-277-9449, or in Jersey and Delaware, 1-800-887-9627. That's 1-800-887-9627.
Okay, so let's get into this topic. Now, abandonment issues can come from many different areas, and we're going to try to get to some of them today. I was just having a discussion about this with someone earlier, and we were talking about what amounts to emotional abandonment. So how does emotional abandonment happen in childhood? One of the ways that it can happen is if you and your siblings, or if your children were born close together. And this is an example I like to use. The birth order makes a difference. If your children are born, or if you and your siblings are very close in age. For example, if you were, born and then you had another sibling born within 2 years. And you figure, okay, so you got to be king of the castle for 2 years. You were the oldest child. You were the glory celebrated child for 2 years. And then you get this other thing coming in, a baby. And you're like, wait a minute. I'm the head king around here. Who's this thing? I don't like it. And a lot of times you'll see babies, children, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, they won't like the baby. And they'll pinch the baby or they'll push the baby. They will abuse the baby if you don't watch them. And that's because they don't like being displaced. And that's where some emotional damage can happen, because the mother has to feed the baby. The mother has to carry the baby. The mother has to do stuff for the baby, change the diaper. And then she's telling the oldest one, okay, you go to the potty. He's like, why do I have to go to the potty? Why won't you change me? And the mother's maybe breastfeeding the baby. He's like, why can't I breastfeed? Why does that thing get all of the attention that I used to get? And in a way, that can set up some emotional abandonment from a parent.
And that's why as a parent, it's really important to make sure that you balance out that time and make sure that, okay, well, when the new baby comes, well, these are the things that I do with you because you're bigger and you're special in that way, and the baby can't do these things. And so if you did grow up in a household where you had a sibling and that sibling kind of took over that attention, that's a very common, and that's also a very normal thing. We as humans, although we really desire that constant attention in childhood, and we really, really want, our parents to spend all that time with us, sometimes, if you grow up in a household where there's been some abandonment, or there's maybe one parent there, sometimes it can be difficult to create certain boundaries or appropriate boundaries, because either sometimes the parent can be very overwhelmed and not have the time because, well, they got to work, and then they have to, you have to do homework and cook dinner and this and that. And so then the child can be left feeling unimportant.
Right.
Because other things take the priority, similar to that baby that came in. But then other times what can happen too is the parent can see that child as injured or wounded and constantly coddle, constantly pay attention, develop a friendship instead of a parenting relationship. And that can cause problems as well. And so depending on, what happened in your childhood, whether it was a sibling that came into the picture or whether it was the parent that actually wasn't present for you, those things that Sophia is talking about are very real, and they do actually come back up in adulthood, like Sophia was saying. And if there is that sense of insecurity or that sense of, wow, there's something else or someone else more important than me, it can then create this feeling as though you need to do everything right to get the right amount of attention, or, you need to be extra whatever, fill in the blank, in order that, you're not left to be secondary, but instead are primary in the life of your parent or in the life of other people.
Right. And that's why a lot of times you'll see adults who seem to always need attention, always want to be out front, always want you to pay attention to what they're doing. Look at me, I don't know if you've ever been around kids, but a lot of kids have the whole look at me thing. Look at me. Watch me do this. Look at me. Well, that happens in adulthood, too. You get adults who are very similar to children. It's just in a more sophisticated way. So it might be in the way you dress or the way you interact with somebody. You do kind of get a look at me thing. And it's like, okay, what happened to you? Something happened to make you need that extra attention as an adult. If it's you, look, it's okay. We're going to fix it. But if you desire attention, if you know that's something that you really kind of seek after and you feel not good enough, not important, as if you're invisible, all of those can come from childhood wounds such as this, as emotional abandonment by a parent. One other thing I wanted to mention is it's possible for the mother to have postpartum depression.
Oh, yeah.
And not be able to be available to the child emotionally. And so if your mom had postpartum depression, she might have really ignored your needs other than your basic. You got food and shelter and water and pretty much sat in front of the TV. And she wasn't able to be there for you emotionally.
Right. Yeah. And that can be very true. And, when we talk about child abandonment, we're talking about when there's a parent or a guardian or a person that's in charge of you that either deserts the child without any regards to the child's physical health, safety, or welfare, and with the intention of, not being present for whatever reason. And so, abandonment can take the form of actually not being in the home, like the dad left or mom just walked out, but it can also take the form of feeling abandoned emotionally and not taken care of. So, as you reflect on your life, consider, whether or not any of those could be facing you today. And when someone that you love in your present rejects you, the pain of that person who left you can sometimes come up. So that can be a trigger. When someone in your life currently you feel rejected as a result of how they treat you, and then that can bring up the triggers. But anyway, we'll be back after this break. We're talking about parental abandonment here on How's That Working For You. Attention, business owners. Are you in the process of designing or redesigning your website? If so, remember the right photos can make a huge difference in the overall impression and effectiveness of your website. Too many websites are ruined because of poor photo choices or low quality photos. Remember, when visitors are viewing your website, they are making a snap decision on the credibility of your company, and at that very moment, your website is setting a tone. This is your chance to capture that audience and impress them with the images of your work. At TrueVine Photography, our commercial photographers can assist you with your photos, providing you with high-quality images that will set you apart from your competition. Some of our clients include Liberty Mutual, U Financial, Chick-fil-A, Electrical Plus, Bold and Beautiful Salon, Dayspring Counseling, and many, many more. Please contact us at 610-428-6469. That's 610-428-6469, or at TrueVinePhoto.com. That's TrueVinePhoto.com. Because at TrueVine Photography, we not only take pictures, we stop time.
Are you in need of counseling but think you can't afford it? Christian Talk Therapy offers individual sessions from only $50 and couple sessions for only $80. Also, we offer packages, 3 individual sessions for $100, 3 couple sessions for $160. Can you afford not to get counseling? Call today and schedule your appointment. 215-375-7879, extension 44. That's 215-375-7879, extension 44. Call today.
Are you feeling down, tired, or depressed? Do you feel stressed or anxious? Does it seem as though you are coping with loss after loss? Dayspring Counseling Services can help. If you have thought counseling might help you or someone you care about, contact Dayspring Counseling Services at 610-949-9449. That's 610-949-9449. Or on the web at dayspringpa.com. That's dayspringpa.com. Don't wait another day to get help. With locations in Bala Cynwyd, Exton, and Paoli, our therapists can help you manage the problems in your life. Contact Dayspring today at 610-949-9449 or dayspringpa.com. Dayspring Counseling Services, helping to bring light into the lives of others.
And we are back. You're listening to How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia. And we are practicing counselors in the Philadelphia area, in Exton and Paoli, and we provide services to you, including individual, couples counseling, and any problem that you are going through, we can help you. Call us at 215-375-7879 for Christian Talk Therapy.
And 610-363-2040. Again, 610-363-2040 for Dayspring Counseling or dayspringpa.com on the internet.
Okay, so we want to get back into our topic. We are talking about abandonment, particularly parental abandonment. And one thing I want to preface this with is that, you know, in order to look at some of the issues that we deal with, some of our emotional wounds, we have to do it honestly. So we want to do it with truth, but we also want to give grace to the people who may have been a part of the emotional wounds that we experience. So grace of God to forgive is what we have to have in order to look at these things truthfully. Your parents did the best they could in most situations, but you know, parents are regular people too who have their own emotional wounds. Mm-hmm. You know, it's no class you take to be a parent. You're not required to go through counseling and be healed before you're a parent. So parents tend to have these same things going on in their lives that happen to you, and they act out of their pain sometimes. So sometimes if you have a parent who was emotionally wounded, emotionally neglected by their own parent, that's what they learned. So back in the day, it used to say children are seen and not heard. So if your parent was one of the children that was seen and not heard, then they may have done the same thing to you, where you were seen and not heard, right? So just allow us to help you look at this truthfully, but also keep in mind that the grace of God is something we all need and that we have to give to each other.
That's very true. And one of the things that I often encourage my clients to do as well is, you know, to consider that inside of you is that little girl or that little boy that grew up in that family that you had. And that little girl and that little boy had to take on or take in all of those things that were happening in childhood. And as we grow and develop, that little boy and that little girl often tend to become more silent because when you're little, well, you don't have any control over anything. And so you develop a certain amount of coping skills where you say, okay, you know what? If I speak up about that, I'm going to get in trouble. So let me just kind of put that away. And you say, oh, well, you know what? If I, give my opinion about this or that, nobody's really going to listen to me anyway, so let me put that away. Or, oh, if I do this or that, that's going to, cause a problem, let me put that away. So all of those things that you put away that are that natural instinct, that thing that you were born with, that thing that God created you with, is now stored away. And then who you become is this person that is the most pleasing to whomever you are around. So you become that representative, right? That safe person, that person that, oh, well, you know what? Nobody's going to reject me if I say this. Nobody's going to be upset with me if I do that. But then that core of who you are gets put away. And if that is who God created you to be, guess what? It doesn't just go away. It's not like when you throw stuff in the ground and then the ground just eats it up, or it degenerates. It actually stays there because that is a part of who you are. And that little girl and that little boy over time, they need tending to. And, in regards to what you were saying, Sophia, about the grace we want to give our parents, sometimes it can be helpful if you're really upset with your parent or if you're having a hard time in that relationship, is to imagine that little girl, that little boy in them, because they got that stuff in there too.
Right.
And sometimes it becomes easier to relate to someone when you can have compassion for them and view them in a more vulnerable way than if they're that powerful, person that can, wreak that havoc in your life or create that difficulty for you. And so our little girl, our little boy have to sometimes meet their little girl and their little boy that's in them. And a lot of times that's where the healing can happen.
Right. And to do that, you have to see yourself at some point as equal to your parent. Like now you're an adult and you're no longer that little child. You cannot allow yourself to stay in that parent-child relationship, meaning that they are someone who is over you. At some point, we're brothers and sisters in Christ. God is our Father. And in order to help us all heal, we have to deal with some of the things that happen. And this emotional wounds is a good place to start. So if you felt rejected, so what are some of the things that can happen? Certainly, there are a lot of people who were born and didn't know their father. So you might have felt rejected. I talked a little bit about it last week. I have numerous clients have mentioned that their father either wasn't with their mother for some reason, didn't live in the house. And they would, hear, or he would say, okay, I'm coming to pick you up on Saturday. We're going to the zoo. And then you would put your coat on and be sitting by the door or have your sneakers on, sitting by the door, waiting for your dad to come. And he never showed up. So that can cause you to, over time, feel like he doesn't care about me. He doesn't love me. And kind of when it comes from a parent, is more difficult to accept because you figure your parents are the people who are responsible for you being there. And if they reject you, how can you trust anybody else in the world not to reject you? So that creates an emotional wound. Depending on what age it happened, you may be stuck at that age emotionally.
Right.
So if it started at 4, you might be stuck at 4, so you will have a 4-year-old's understanding and a 4-year-old's response to rejection.
Right. And so that's why if you're in your teenage years or adult years and you're thinking, oh, well, they didn't invite me. They didn't include me. They didn't, extend a friendship to me, or they did that to me to betray me. Those are those things that happen when you were that little kid. That little girl, that little boy that felt that, and then those insecurities come up. So social situations can become triggers for those feelings of abandonment. And then those feelings of fear and insecurity create a self-fulfilling prophecy, meaning that, if you're feeling afraid and you're feeling insecure that somebody's going to reject you, well, guess what? You're going to interact with people that lead you to be rejected. You're going to interact with people and maybe not make eye contact, or maybe you won't take somebody up on an offer because you figure, oh, well, they don't really want to be with me anyway. And then you just end up in this place where you're still dealing with and struggling with feeling abandoned, even though as an adult, that's not happening to you anymore.
Right.
As an adult, you can't be abandoned. You can't be abandoned. Someone cannot leave you where you are not being taken care of, because as an adult, you can take care of yourself. Right. People can leave you and not want relationship with you, but abandonment for me is more of you are being left where your physical health, safety, welfare, and all those things that you can't take care of for yourself are left unattended to, and therefore you're left helpless.
Right. And you can't be helpless as an adult. You might feel helpless, though. That's the thing. If you feel helpless, if you feel abandoned, that's probably a trigger to something that happened to you when you were younger. And it might be that you put that person, whoever you were dating, that man or that woman, into the parental role. So you replaced the father that wasn't there with that boyfriend who's now there. And you relate to him almost as you would a father. Mm-hmm. So when he leaves, you feel abandoned like you did when your father. Or if he's late to a date, or if he cancels a date, or if he says he's going to do something and then he doesn't do it, you're like, ooh. And you don't say you're just like my father, but the wound in you, that little kid in you says, see, you're just like my dad.
Mm-hmm. Right. And sometimes you can subconsciously attract people in your life that are similar to those people that created those abandonment issues in you. And so then there's that expectation that, oh, well, they're going to abandon me. And when they do, it's like, oh, see, I knew it. Or you can choose to leave the relationship before that can happen. You say, you know what? I already know that you're going to end up leaving because you are so much like such and such and so and so. So, you know what? I'm just going to leave before it happens to me.
Or this is another one. If you meet somebody who displays the things that you really desire in a relationship, you don't trust them. Because you know, based on what your relationship was with your parent, that this is how people who really love me treat me. And I don't know why you're being so nice to me. You must want something, or you're trying to trick me. Why are you treating me with respect? Why are you listening to my needs? My mother and father didn't do that. I don't trust you.
So maybe thinking that they're going to manipulate in some way, and therefore you don't want to make yourself vulnerable to that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wind up messing up good relationships because you're looking for the mistreatment that you got from your parent. You understand what I'm saying, y'all? Are y'all out there? Do you understand what I'm saying? Give us a call at 610-277-9449, because if you understand what I'm saying, I need you to call me and let me know. Because if I need to explain a little more, I can. But don't, if you find yourself messing up good relationships, and I know you know it, because like 6 months later, maybe not even that long, 6 weeks later, you like, dang, I messed that one up. He was a good man. Dang, why did I do that? And it's a pattern for you.
Mm-hmm. But at the root of all this is fear. Fear becomes that emotion that then drives your behavior, and then that leads you to end up in relationships or situations where that self-fulfilling prophecy of, see, everyone that loves me or is supposed to love me is going to eventually abandon me. And, you know, the emotional effects of abandonment, like rejection, not feeling good enough, feeling unlovable, feeling defective, feeling empty, numb, angry, sad, depressed, alone, lonely, right? All these things can lead to anxiety, depression, avoiding intimacy in relationships, being codependent in a relationship, right? Like making the relationship more important to you than you are to yourself, right? And that could probably be a whole other topic,
a new
codependency.
show, right? Mm-hmm.
But so all of these effects of someone having left you as a young age will manifest or can manifest themselves into adulthood. The other thing, too, is that sense of feeling responsible for that absent parent's absence, right? Feeling like, wow, well, maybe it was something I did that made them leave, or maybe it was something about me. And then in adulthood, that takes that form of, well, I need to overcompensate and make sure I am as pleasing to everyone as I could possibly be. And then in turn, it becomes this superficial relationship because it's not real. You're not feeling free enough or safe enough to be who you are. And those relationships usually fail because you're not able to be genuine. So if you find yourself in a relationship like that, do you find yourself always being pleasing? Do you find yourself being afraid to be who you are because you fear that someone's going to leave you? Give us a call, 610-277-9449, 610-277-9449. Or if you've overcome that, call us up and maybe you can be a blessing to other people. Jersey and Delaware, 1-800-887-9627, and we will be right back.
Marriage can be a mixed bag of tricks and difficult to navigate. If you are a wife, we have something exciting for you. Starting in September, Christian Talk Therapy invites you to join our wives group. If you need help, encouragement, or support in your role as a wife, this group is for you. Come out and learn ways to get your marriage to the next level. The wives group meets second and fourth Tuesdays at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Christian Talk Therapy offices. Come out on Tuesday, September 10th, and join the wives group. Make an investment in your marriage. Call 215-375-7879. That's 215-375-7879 for more information. Only a $20 fee per meeting. Call 215-375-7879.
Do you ever feel empty, up one day and down the next? Do you ever do something to feel better that you later regret? Well, if so, Dayspring Counseling has a group for you. The DBT Skills Group will teach you how to manage your emotions, be more assertive, communicate effectively, and improve your relationships. Beginning June 11th, the group will be held in the Bala Kenwood location, and it will run on Tuesdays from 6 to 7:45 p.m. Call Dayspring at 610-363-2040, again 610-363-2040, and let us know if you're interested. You can also find us on the web at dayspringpa.com. dayspringpa.com. Contact us and you can learn skills that lead to a better life.
Fellas, are you having more frequent arguments with your significant other? Having problems communicating your needs to your spouse? Do you feel disrespected or unappreciated? Are you frustrated, lonely, or hurt, and don't know how to express yourself? Men, if you are struggling with any of these issues and you would like some help, call Dayspring Counseling Services today. Dayspring Counseling can provide you with a safe environment where you can learn to communicate your true feelings or learn how to cope with the challenges of your relationship. God said there will be conflict. Learn how to manage it today. Call Dayspring at 610-949-9449. That's 610-949-9449. Or check us out online at dayspringpa.com. That's dayspringpa.com. Call today. Dayspring Counseling Service help. Call today. Dayspring Counseling Services, helping to bring light into the lives of others.
You're getting married? Congratulations! While planning your wedding, invest some time in preparing for marriage. Christian Talk Therapy's premarital counseling series consists of 5 2-hour sessions designed to give you the truth about marriage, show you the biblical plan for marriage, and teach you how to work the plan. Our premarital counseling series is different from what you might get from your pastor or church. We tailor your premarital counseling sessions to address the specific needs of your relationship. Christian Talk Therapy explains what to expect in marriage, identify areas that may be a challenge in your marriage, and give you the tools necessary to build a solid marriage with a Christ-centered foundation. At the end of the series, you'll receive a certificate of completion. Call today to schedule your free consultation. 215-375-7879, extension 44. Or visit our website, christiantalktherapy.com, for more information. While planning your wedding, be sure to invest in your marriage.
And we're back. You're listening to How's That Working For You? With Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia, and we're trying to get at these emotional wounds that you have from childhood. Ladies and gentlemen, this is some work that has to be done. No, it's not comfortable. No, it's not easy, and no, it's not something you want to happen. You don't want to address those things that happen. You're over it. Believe me, it's affecting you in some way, and God wants you to be free and healed. He does not want you to walk around with those wounds and that secret shame, destroying things that he's trying to give you. He's trying to bless you. And he can't because you got this stuff that's unaddressed. Give us a call and get you some help, girl. 610-277-9449. Give us a call. This is counseling for free on the radio. You don't have to mention your name, but we can help you.
Yes, we can. And, one of the things that you mentioned and just talking about God and God wanting healing for you, a very real thing that can happen as a result of feeling abandoned is it can affect your spiritual life too. You
Right.
can really start to wonder and question, well, does God really love me? Like, how can I trust God, who I can't even see, if my own parents that are supposed to love me, who brought me into this world, they don't even love me. They don't care about me. And there's that feeling of, well, I'm not so sure I can trust God, or I'm not so sure I can, trust other people to be sent by God to help me. So I need to handle everything on my own.
Right. And
there becomes this sense of Miss or Mr. Independent, and you don't need help from anybody, and, God can't help you with anything. But, that spiritual upheaval, or that lack of a foundation in a relationship with God, a lot of times is directly affected by feeling that sense of abandonment by your parents, because you assume that, well, God's not really here for me. Where's he been?
Right. And we know that as adults, we base our relationship with God on the relationship we had with our parents or another caregiver. Mm-hmm. So if your parents were inconsistent, distant, didn't care, or didn't take care of your immediate needs, then a lot of times you'll see God that way: distant, uncaring, doesn't really care about my immediate needs, won't protect me, and you'll feel a need to do those things yourself. Your relationship with God develops based on your relationship with your parents. Mm-hmm. If you have developed a relationship with God that is trusting, and you rely on God, and you don't fear him ever not protecting you, then you have overcome what happened to you in your childhood. But we know that for most people, their relationship with God will be based on how they interacted with their parents and whether or not their parents met their emotional needs.
Do you think that your relationship with God is based on your relationship with your parents? And if you do, give us a call. Talk to us about it. Here at How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia. 610-277-9449. Again, 610-277-9449 or 1-800-887-9627. Is your relationship with God based on your relationship with your parents? And I would encourage you guys out there to think about your relationship with your parents, or think about your own relationships with your own kids. And how often does it happen, though, that when you get what you want and you get your way, oh, my parents really love me? Or even with your spouse, oh, he really loves me, or oh, she really loves me. But then the moment you don't get what you want, or if things aren't going your way, your child says, well, you don't even care about me, or that you guys treat me so mean, and, you don't love me. And it's not true. It's not true that just because you don't give your child what they want, that you're not loved, because sometimes that thing that they want isn't good for them.
Right.
Right? If they want to eat that lollipop for dinner instead of the broccoli you put on their plate, or they refuse to eat anything green, you as a parent at some level might say, nope, sorry, got to eat it anyway. And your child is going to say, you're making me do something I don't want to do. I don't like how that makes me feel, so therefore that means you don't love me. That is not true. And if your outlook on God is similar to that, where you're saying, you know what, God isn't giving me what I need, and God isn't taking care of that need, and God allowed that void in my life, and that must mean he does not love me, well, that's not true. That's not a true statement. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do is think about what God actually did for us, and that God sent his son down to die on our behalf, right? Jesus died on the cross for our sins. Does that mean that God didn't love his only son because he allowed him to die for us? So he did, though. He did love his son, but at the same time, he allowed him to die for us. And even in that moment when Jesus was dying on the cross and he cried out and said, God, my God, why have you forsaken me? Right? In that moment, Jesus, who was God on earth, felt that sense of abandonment and despair that we as humans often feel as we walk through the earth. And Jesus felt that for us when he was on the cross. It doesn't mean that God did not love him. And it's the same thing in your life. Just because those things are not happening for you, or your parent abandoned you or wasn't there for you, that doesn't mean that God does not love you.
Or just because your parent wasn't there to help you when something bad was happening. Mm-hmm. So this is an issue that I have a lot in dealing with clients who have been molested. I have clients who have been molested and their parents didn't know. So what I have found is that they still wind up having a feeling of abandonment, like my parent didn't protect me, or my parents didn't care for me, or my parents didn't love me because they didn't stop the molestation. But your parent didn't know. And you feeling like there was something going wrong, but also having some shame around it or guilt, feeling like you might have been a part of what happened to you, and you might have been to blame. You held that secret, and your parent didn't have a chance to protect you. A lot of times the molestation was happening in the house, or the abuse was happening in the house, and the parent didn't know. And that's kind of what it creates, a false abandonment. And it means that your parent didn't know what was happening to you. You felt abandoned and you felt alone. You felt isolated because you weren't able to tell your parents, you weren't able to tell them what was happening. That's a false abandonment. But in that, you get the same as if it was real abandonment. You feel like you're not good enough. You feel like you have to hide who you are. You feel like there's something about you that made it happen. You feel like you have to protect yourself because your parent can't keep you safe in those situations because you're not telling. And those feelings that create around a molestation can cause a distance between you and your parent that you may carry through your life and prevent you from getting close to anybody. You may always feel like you need to be protected, and you may have taken that on yourself and never be able to be vulnerable around anybody.
But there's help out there for you. If you are in that situation where you do find, those things to be true for you, seek counseling. Find somebody that can help you get deeper on those issues that you've been avoiding. Those things that you feel shame about or you feel embarrassment about, those things were not your fault. They weren't your fault. And you can heal from those things, but you're going to have to take the time to invest the time and energy and the emotional energy involved in figuring that out for yourself and being able to heal that little girl or that little boy that's in there that did feel vulnerable and that did feel left alone, during those really, really difficult times. And the other thing too is to encourage you to get into the Word. Look at what God says about abandonment in the Bible. What does He say? Even though you might not feel it in the moment, you have to make yourself aware of what it is that God says about you and not those ideas that you believe to be true about you, because those could be just distortions, based on what you think is happening. Because many of us as kids, we don't really know what's going on. We just kind of create our own idea based on what we see. But if you're using that as a 30-something-year-old or you're using that as a 20-something, a 40-something, it might not actually be what's actually happening or what really happened. But when you're a kid, you kind of just take in the information the way that you know how, and you come up with a certain conclusion. But you have to decide as an adult to figure out, okay, is that really true? Or is that just something that I've used to kind of help me get through my life, and can I replace that with something else? But the only way you're really going to be able to do that is in a relationship with someone else that can help you work through that, or in a relationship with God where you allow the Holy Spirit to work through you to help you figure it out and make sense of it. You're listening to How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia. We're talking about abandonment, and we will be right back.
Are you planning your wedding and still need a photographer? TrueVine Photography can accommodate all of your wedding needs. With packages that support any budget, we will provide you with quality photos that last a lifetime. At TrueVine Photography, our professional photographers can take a traditional or photojournalistic approach. All of our wedding packages include a pre-wedding consultation to get to know more about you and your special day, as well as a post-wedding consultation where we will finalize the pictures you'd like to see in your custom photo album. Please give us a call at 610-428-6469. That's 610-428-6469. Or you can reach us on the web at truevinephoto.com. That's truevinephoto.com. Mention this ad and receive your 15% discount on any of our wedding packages. On me, Sean Sims, owner, TrueVine Photography. Have a blessed day.
Marriage can be a mixed bag of tricks and difficult to navigate. If you are a wife, we have something exciting for you. Starting in September, Christian Talk Therapy invites you to join our wives group. If you need help, encouragement, or support in your role as a wife, this group is for you. Come out and learn ways to get your marriage to the next level. The wives group meets second and fourth Tuesdays at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Christian Talk Therapy offices. Come out on Tuesday, September 10th, and join the wives group. Make an investment in your marriage. Call 215-375-7879. That's 215-375-7879 for more information. Only a $20 fee per meeting. Call 215-375-7879.
Dayspring Counseling Services provides individual and group counseling services to adults, children, and couples. If you are having problems setting limits or communicating with your child or teen, if you feel disconnected in your marriage or relationship, or if you need direction with your career, Dayspring is here to help. With convenient locations in Bala Cynwyd, Exton, and Paoli, our therapists will provide the support and professional guidance you need. Contact us on the web at dayspringpa.com or by phone at 610-363-2088. Again, our web address is www.dayspringpa.com or our phone number 610-363-2088. Dayspring Counseling Services, helping to bring light into the lives of others. Don't wait another day to get help.
You're listening to How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia. We're so glad to have you join us today. I know this topic is not one that anybody really wants to discuss. You know, emotional wounds and abandonment are all painful stuff. And we understand if you don't want to call.
I might not call.
I might not call either. She says she won't call. And we understand that. You know, I tell Dr. Suzette, you know, some of the stuff we talk about, I wouldn't call either. But that's okay, because, honey, I got enough to talk about. Take up all of this time. So as long as you're getting what you need, don't worry about calling. But if you feel like you have something you want to share or something that's on your heart, or you know God is saying, call them, then I think you should call us at 610-277-9449. So we want to just finish up this topic on emotional wounds dealing with abandonment by a parent.
And, you know, we've been talking a lot about the emotional part of it and the relational part, like the relationship with God and all that. But one of the things I do want to mention is that sometimes it can also take a financial toll. Mm-hmm. You know, depending on how you grew up. And for a lot of people, for a lot of folks, whether it be, you know, your parents divorced or your parent was never married, financial struggles in childhood can set up a certain expectation of how you expect your life to go or what you think you're worthy of. It can also create, you know, different issues with self-esteem. You know, do I fit in? Am I good enough? You know, that whole have and have nots, right?
Say more about financial. What are you talking about?
What I mean is that if for many people living in a single parent household, it's very different than if you have a household that has two incomes. So if you're living with one parent, and of course that parent only has a certain amount of hours in a day that they can spend working. And so therefore they're only going to earn a certain amount of money with the amount of time because they also have to be a parent. Well, that's going to mean there might not be excess income to go on vacation, let's say, or to be able to have that pizza night once a week.
Or for the new Chuck Taylors.
Or for the new Chuck Taylors or even the old Chuck Taylors, right? Like, and then you look at yourself and say, wow, like, look what I got and look what they got. I don't have those Ugg boots, which are ugly, by the way, in my opinion. Cost a fortune. But, you know, we as human beings, we set ourselves up to be in a constant state of comparison with other people, in particular in childhood. Childhood is one of those places in your life where, you know, when you're born up until about like maybe second grade, you know, your family of origin is your focus. You focus in on your family, your parents, your siblings. But then once about second grade through teenage years, high school, it is completely about your peers. It has everything to do with where you fit in, how how do you look in comparison to them? What do you have? What do they have that you don't have? Where are they going? Where are you not able to go? And your sense of self can develop as a result of the people around you. And if you are in a different economic place than some of your classmates or people that you go to school with, you're going to develop a certain sense of esteem or certain idea about yourself, as well as what you can come to expect in adulthood.
Right. And you might have low self-esteem and get into a situation where you are always trying to be better than somebody else. You get competitive. Mm-hmm. You may want to outdress somebody, outdo somebody. If somebody else is achieving, you feel less than until you get the recognition that they get. Mm-hmm. So that's an emotional wound created in childhood or from something more than likely that came from childhood where you felt like you didn't fit in or somebody had something other than you. For example, if you grew up in a neighborhood where people had fathers and you didn't have a father, that might create an issue of esteem. Like, why don't I have one? Mm-hmm. Where's my father? And that can create that wound in you. It's like, well, he didn't love me enough to stay? Am I not good enough? And you may start thinking, well, I'm not good enough. And if that is compounded with the financial strain of not having the, latest sneakers or not having, the latest clothes or wearing hand-me-downs, if that is in addition to the wound of not having a parent, then it can create a whole issue around your personality.
Right, yeah.
You may become very aggressive, right? You may be envious or jealous. I was actually talking to someone who grew up without her father, and she was saying as an adult now, when she works with kids, she can't work with kids that have two parents.
Oh, wow.
She's more effective with working with kids who are from one-parent homes, who are low income, who are maybe bullies or struggling in school. She's more comfortable working with them because when she's with kids that have two parents, she thinks, what are you complaining about, you brat? Why are you complaining? You got two parents. You see what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? It can affect you, right? It can affect you. We have a caller, Tiffany. You're on How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia. Can we Tiffany, girl, call back. Okay. So anyway, what I was saying was, even in your adulthood, it can affect your ability to minister to people because your wound around that is still unaddressed. Mm-hmm. So if God needs you to be the minister or a youth pastor at a church and you haven't dealt with the wound from your childhood of not having your father there and suffering financially, you might mistreat the children that have two parents. You see what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? Deal with your stuff, ladies and gentlemen. God has a life for you. He has a ministry for you. But you can't be 100% effective if you don't deal with your own stuff. Because I'm telling you, when you get out there ministering, it's going to be triggered. And you're going to act out, and it's not going to be cute.
And I want to talk a little bit about just the whole relational part of that too, and that like in a marriage, we can react or be triggered by our partner's behavior, like you mentioned, being late or maybe not doing that particular thing that was expected. And in turn, you're going to relate with your partner in a way that has nothing to do with them or with what they did. So those of you that are out there listening, if you can think back to when you were like 6. Okay, I don't know how old you guys are, but if you think back to when you were 6, I want you to think about, okay, what was your favorite toy back when you were 6? What was one of those favorite things that you like to do? Can you think of like maybe your favorite toy, Sophia, back when you were like 6? Or
I had a doll whose hair would grow long if you pushed the button in the back of her.
Really? It would
grow.
Green
dress.
And did you spend a lot of time playing with her?
Yes, combing her long hair, yes.
And that was about probably a few years ago, right?
Oh,
couple years ago. Okay. So it was a while ago. I can remember that my sister and I had, do you remember the Stretch Armstrong dolls? Mm-hmm. You remember? And we actually like cut one open and it had like to see what was in it, and all this like red gel was in it. Ew. I can still remember, and we hid it in the bottom of my closet, and the bottom of the closet still has like the sticky stuff on the bottom of the closet. It's strange. But I can remember that we would like tie it up and make it fly, right? Or we would take our stuff and make it fly over the banister. And that was a long time ago. But I can remember it very clearly. And those of you out there thinking about that favorite toy or that favorite thing that you did, that was a really long time ago, but you can remember it. And those are like latent memories. Those are things that even though it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you can remember it that quickly. Because that was just a span of like maybe 5 seconds and you were able to remember it.
Right.
Well, when you are in a conflict with someone or you're in a relationship with someone now as an adult, those injuries and those hurts that happened back when you were 6 or 10 or whatever it is, they come back in a matter of like 10 seconds, just like that. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in the process of having a conflict with someone or a difficult situation, those emotions are the emotions that come up, not your emotion about what just happened, because what's happening right now is happening too fast. But because we have these latent memories, those emotional memories come up and we react to those emotional memories in the present moment. And that is why those things that happened to you in childhood very much become a part of your present. And unless you are able to deal with them and recognize them when they're happening, they are going to continue to they're going to be able to participate in your life in the present, even though they happened 30, 40 years ago.
Right. And that needs to come into control. We have Tiffany. Tiffany, this is how's it working for you? What's your question or comment?
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Good. We only have a few seconds.
Okay, I was listening about the abandonment issue, and I'm just having a problem dealing with a parent who's passed away now. I just wanted to know if you had any advice on dealing with that type of issue.
Sure, we do. You know, loss of a parent is a grieving issue. And, you know, if you had any unresolved issues with your parent, if your relationship wasn't perfect before they passed, it can be particularly painful after they pass. Mm-hmm. How was your relationship with your parent?
It wasn't very good. It was my father. He passed away a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And I was in the midst of confronting him about a few things that we never got resolved, so I'm just having a hard time dealing with how do I go about resolving those issues now that he's passed. So.
Well, you know, probably going to need some counseling, but I would say write him a letter. And even though he's passed, you can definitely still write him a letter and try to at least resolve those issues within your own spirit and ask God to help you to work through it. But start by writing him a letter that has everything you wanted to tell him. Okay.
Yeah, I never thought about that, so maybe I'll try that, and hopefully it can help a little bit.
I think it will. And certainly you can give either me or Sister or Dr. Suzette a call, and we can help you work through it.
But you definitely want to try to seek out some counseling. You know, it can be really difficult to work out emotional issues by yourself, and especially if it has to do with a conflict with another person. And sometimes just having that person to talk to about it can help give you a different perspective on it, because you as the child of that parent, you might see things in a different way than maybe a counselor or therapist might be able to help you maybe see more about the situation rather than what was just your perspective of it.
Okay.
All right. Well, we
thanks
appreciate
so much for
your call.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good day.
You too.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so our time is almost up. We hope that you have gained some new insight into your own emotional wounds, or the possibility that there may be something if you have a lapse of memory about something in your childhood or any span of time. Hope that you will reflect on that and give us a call if you need some help. We're at dayspringpa.com for Dr. Suzette, or at christiantalktherapy.com for Sister Sophia, and we're just glad that you were with us today.
We are, and I want to encourage you guys just to go to the scriptures and look up what God says about abandonment. Seek him out. Ask him to send the Holy Spirit to comfort you and to guide you and to direct you in a path or a direction that can help you work it out. So until next week, don't worry about anything, but pray about everything.
God didn't give you the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
You are important, and God really does love you.
Be blessable. God is faithful.
I'm Dr. Suzette.
And I'm Sister Sophia.
And this is How's That Working For You? Be blessed. Thank you for joining us today. The information we discussed today is not a substitute for professional counseling. If you'd like to talk to a professional counselor, you can contact us at 215-375-7879, extension 11. That's 215-375-7879, extension 11.
Or you can visit Sister Sophia at ChristianTalkTherapy.com. That's ChristianTalkTherapy.com.
And you can also reach Dr. Suzette at DayspringPA.com. That's DayspringPA.com. Or find us on Facebook at How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia.
Join us next week on How's That Working For You with Dr. Suzette and Sister Sophia on Fridays at 1 p.m. on Gospel Highway 11.